Okay, people. We have finished 3 lessons in the technique-based group. So we're going to move on to 3 different groups of speaking topics, right? I mean, we go through rotations like that. You should be aware of that at this point. And today we're going to move on to the first group of topics, which is the topics about events, like different types of events and activities. Hmm. But without further ado, I think that I can just stop sharing the screen and then we can get the ball rolling. Okay. Essentially, I'm just going to ask you questions. Well, according to this file here, and I'm going to make some notes of your answers. Okay. Let me stop sharing screen first. Okay. Hello Z. All right. Lâm Anh, please. Let's talk about drawing. Did you enjoy drawing as a kid?
If my memory serves me right, when back then when I was a kid, I didn't enjoy
When I was
drawing.
younger, drawing or arts in general never appealed to me.
The
I don't get
your
through
mic is
really
on.
badly, and I just couldn't.
That's okay. That's okay. Anh, let's continue. Let's do it again. Did you enjoy drawing as a kid?
If my memory serves me right, back then when I was a kid, I didn't enjoy drawings. Because compared to my friends, I was quite slow on the uptake, and why they could, pass the exams with flying colors, I struggle a lot with basic colors and shapes and understand the differences between different patterns.
Thank you.
Which
So, what do you often draw now?
Maybe no. For my studying and my works, it it doesn't involve a lot of art related activities. My job and studying revolves around driving lessons and teaching English skills for students. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you. That should be fine. Let's continue. Zhang, please. We're gonna talk about drawing here. When did you attend drawing classes when you were younger?
Mm. Because I'm because as I can remember when I was young, I didn't keen on drawing, so I only learned the drawing on class at my school, and I spent a lot of time studying formal subjects like math, literature, or English.
Well then, do you want to enhance your drawing skills in the future?
Mm, no, when in the future, as a present, I still don't like drawing. I prefer singing, but my voice is terrible. So in the future, I hope instead of enhancing my drawing skill, I can improve my singing skills.
Thank you. Let's continue. Duke, please. Let's talk about drawing. Do you think that you're good at drawing?
I would say no. I have
Mm,
never received a good mark on any kind of painting that I made, even from like primary school or secondary school. So I think I am pretty out of my element when it comes to drawing.
Thank you. Well then, do you want to like attend drawing classes?
I would say no.
Mm,
I drawing is not something that I enjoy doing or find it very exciting to do. However, my family, meaning my dad and specifically my dad and my sister, have a lot of artistic how do I say this? Artistic personality in them. They tend to do a lot of arts and crafts stuff around the house. I don't know why that I didn't inherit this, so maybe I will just doesn't draw. I just not draw anything.
Thank you. We're going to move on. That should be it for the first part of the speaking test that all of you are subjected to. Now, in the next part, I'm just going to give you a topic, but because I'm going to have to make some notes of your answers, oh, I noticed that I can actually create rooms now. Okay. Well, this is clearly open like new avenues to which we can navigate, speaking lessons. Perhaps I'm gonna hire some teaching assistants so that you have more, individual practice time. Right. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent there. I want to show you a topic, but because I'm going to have to make notes of your answers later on, I want to stop sharing the screen. And well, that means I'm going to have to send you the topic in the chat box. Okay? Okay. All right. It's in the chat box now, but I'm going to share with you the screen here. I'd like you all to describe an English lesson you had and enjoyed. You have 1 minute to make some notes first. Okay. Remember, you can speak about this topic between 1 and 2 minutes. I want to stop sharing the screen now. Or maybe I can just pause. But never mind. All right. Let's get the ball rolling. Khả Anh, please. Khả Anh, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Come on.
Well, one English lesson that I particularly enjoyed took place when, during my final year of my uh,
Mm,
high school year. It was part of an advanced communication course, and the lessons focused on persuasive speaking and structured debates. Rather than simply reviewing the vocabulary and grammar rules, our teacher divided the class into like small groups and assigned us each team a controversial topic that we were given some time, like I remember, like 2 or 3 minutes to prepare for the arguments, and then we anticipated the and organize our ideologically before presenting them to the class. Um, I remember the atmospheres were surprisingly dynamic, and everyone was encouraged to participate. And what made the lesson memorable for me was that it shifted my perception of English from being an academic subject to a practical one. Instead of memorizing structures, I was actively using the language to defend my viewpoints and convey my message to the whole class. And it was really fun for me and very educated. And that's all.
thank you. Well then, do you plan on having more English lessons?
Come again?
Do you plan on having more English lessons in the future?
Well, actually, in my case, English is not the subject that I focus too much on. So I think I would rather, allocate more of my time on other subjects. So
Thank
I
you.
think I would not.
Thank you. Let's continue. Another person, please. V, remember you can speak about this topic between 1 and 2 minutes, and don't worry if I stop you. You should start speaking, please.
So I'm gonna tell you about an English lesson in my high school that I really liked because it was creative and different from my usual classes. So that day, instead of teaching grammar or asking us to do some reading exercises, the teacher required us to design a poster to invite people to our Imagine festival or party. So each group can choose any kind of party or festival, and at the end of the lesson, the whole class would vote for their favorite one. So our group decided to design a poster for a sleepover party. We thought it would be fun to and appealing to teenagers for that kind of party. And at first, we brainstormed some ideas about what activities to include, such as watching movies and playing board games. And then we moved to think about some catchy slogans to make it more interesting. And the cherry on top for me was that everyone could contribute their ideas and work together. So it wasn't the normal class that we usually learned, uh, because everyone was actively involved and the classroom atmosphere was really lively. So although my group didn't win the first place, I still felt proud of my work and because we had put a lot of effort into it.
Thank you. Well then, do you plan on having more English lessons in the future?
Well, I'm not a student anymore, but now I'm an English teacher. So I hope that in the future I can incorporate more creative activities like this into my class.
Thank you. That should be fine. All right, we have quite a nice array of speaking part 3 questions, so everybody here is gonna get a piece of that. All right. Yeah, so that's the introduction to the third part of this speaking mock test in which everybody is forced to take part in. So, what am I supposed to say next? Okay. Essentially, let me just show you the question booklet first. Usually that's not going to happen. So I'm just going to ask you questions and make some notes, okay? And as you can see, there are 3 subtopics. So the first one would be learning another language. The second one is teaching languages. And the third one is about languages at the workplace. And here's a tip. Oftentimes in speaking part 3, the examiner is going to pick 2 out of these 3 to ask questions about. And for those who aim for a higher band score, usually what you want to get would be just a few questions in the first group and then a few questions in the third group. And you need to be able to deliver answers in a fluent way in both parts. Okay? All right, let me stop sharing the screen again. Let's talk then. Z, please. Let's talk about learning another language. What are the benefits of learning another language?
Well, I think being multilingual or learning languages in general certainly comes with a lot of benefits. One of these is the improvement in our brain. Essentially, when a person learns a new language, if my memory serves me right, it kind of improves functionality like critical thinking, or it sometimes helps with even thinking in multiple ways. Another added benefit, of course, is the ability to communicate with a wide range of different people from different countries. So I guess those are the two main reasons.
Well then, do you think that children should be encouraged to learn additional languages from a young age?
Well, I think even the scientific community is still kind of, uh, I mean, there's still, uh, what is the word? Okay, the scientific community hasn't settled a definitive answer on this. Um, my opinion is that as long as learning a new language doesn't interfere with the improvement of his or her first language, then it'll be fine. But I'm not sure about how to do that though. So I think we'll definitely need some more like research on this.
Okay. Well then, do you think that it's beneficial for people to learn languages from apps instead of teachers?
Well, I think it kind of depends on like the timetable, for instance. So for those with really like hectic lifestyle, learning from apps can be really easy and convenient because it's 24/7 and its omnipresence means that a person can choose when he or she
Thank you.
can
What do you
learn.
mean by omnipresence?
Like it's basically always available. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And
That should
um,
be fine. Thank you.
mhm.
Let's continue. Huyen, please. We're gonna continue talking about learning other languages. In your opinion, what might be the drawbacks of learning another language?
Uh, I honestly cannot see any drawbacks in that, because when you're looking for a job, the more languages you speak, it can act like a testament to your tenacity and your hard work. So it gives you a competitive edge in the job market. However, if I had to like point out one disadvantage, we could think about a case with the kids. If children are forced to like learn multiple languages at a very young age, it can lead to confusion, and they might end up not mastering any language at all, including their mother tongue.
Thank you. Well then, you mentioned that having the ability to communicate in multiple languages is often considered to be a positive point to have in your resume. So, does that mean that you can just learn any language at all and it will still count as an advantage?
Mm, I would say so if I were the employee, if I were the employer. I don't know exactly what is going on inside the HR,
Hmm. Well
in the
then,
mind of people in
thank you.
HR.
Well then, what foreign languages tend to be considered as more desirable?
Languages that are instruction language in powerful countries, I guess, like the US, Russia, or Spanish can be a good choice.
Thank you. But then, is there any value to learning languages that are not as popular as the ones that you've mentioned?
I would say yes, because learning one can always help you develop your cognitive ability. It helps you improve your memories when you force yourself and apply yourself to commit new language and new grammar rules to memory.
Thank you. That should be fine. Let's continue then. I think I've called everybody already. All right, let's take it from the top. Zhang, please. Let's talk about teaching languages. What are the qualities of a good language teacher?
Um, I, from my perspective, English, a good English teacher, would be able to could be able to impart their knowledge to their student, and they have the ability to realize the mistake of their students, and they can they have a large knowledge to explain everything in student
Thank you. Well then, do you think that foreigners can always be good language teachers?
I believe foreigner cannot always be a good English teacher, although they have an ability of foreign language, but they that not mean they can impart knowledge to students for and they can ensure them understand what they teach.
Thank you. That should be fine. Let's continue. Oanh, please. We're gonna continue talking about teaching languages. So we just talked about the qualities of a good language teacher. Well, then, in your opinion, what are the ways with which teachers can organize effective language lessons?
Well, I think the teachers can utilize some technological advancements in their classes, and this can be conducted by implementing some, educational games on the internet, like quizzes or something like that. And I think that in these games, they can incorporate many interactive elements to capture students' attention while delivering the lessons more effectively. But I think they should use them in moderation rather than excessively relying on them. And they can enhance the effectiveness of their lessons by improving the pedagogical skills, like how to deliver the lessons more effectively to a wide range of students rather
Thank
than
you.
to.
Thank you. Well, then, do you think that it's easier these days to teach languages?
Well, I think the answers may be yes. As I said before, with this, the help and assistance of technology, teacher can utilize a wide range of resources to capture students' attention. But I think the core problems is all the same thing. The main things is that teachers should devise many interactive ways to deliver lessons more effectively.
Thank you. Now, with the current rate of technological development, especially by AI, do you think that in the future, language teachers will be completely replaced?
Oh, definitely no. I think that despite the advancements of technological devices, there are some aspects that they can't replicate the presence of teachers. For example, when it comes to some productive skills like speaking and writing, although AIs can introduce many advanced and complex grammars or vocabs, they can't spot some logical arguments or logical mistakes that students often struggle. And I think it is the core and most factors that many students struggle with.
Thank you. Let's move on to the last subtopic here. This interrogation is reaching its end. Everybody should be jumping for joy at this point, except for the next two people. Let's talk about languages at the workplace. Đức, please. In your opinion, why do some companies want to hire people from other countries?
I believe we partly is because company are now a more globalized corporation, so they tend to accept people from other country as a policy to make that possible. Because you accept people from other country, they can like bring people from their own country as a clientele for your company as well. So as the clientele increase, the company also gain a lot of benefits, for example, for like increased profit. So I believe this is one of the reason why companies tend to accept many people from many countries and from different culture.
Thank you. Do you think that it's always beneficial for companies to hire people from different nations?
I think there are some drawbacks that come with the territories because these people are from a different country. They tend to have a lot of cultural values that we cannot understand right away. And there are also the language barrier. If they from like a very remote country, I don't know, Portugal, that Portugal or some part of Africa, we can't really know what language they are saying, and also maybe they are some native speaker of the language itself. So I think these are the two biggest drawback when it comes
Thank
to
you.
welcoming people from different country into a company or an organization.
Thank you. That should be fine. Khai, please. Hmm. We've been talking about hiring people from other nations. Do you think that this trend will continue to be more popular in the future?
Well, actually, um, I don't really relate to this question because I'm still a student, but I think from what I see on the internet, I think this trend will continue because um a lot of companies are promoting and hiring people from different countries because they want to create a uh, multicultural working environment and they want to expand their talent pool. So is it reasonable for them to, hire different people from different countries, especially the talented one?
Hmm.
So I think that's one reason why this trend would continue.
Thank you. Do you think that it's fair for certain companies to prioritize workers from other nations over ones coming from, their own nations?
Well, actually, I do not agree with this one, but I think it is like it's more like a stereotypes because some companies they especially the employers they believe that people from different countries like the USA or some UK countries is are somehow superior to people from their mother country. So actually it's a bit unreasonable because I think they should focus more on the performance or the background they come from, which
Thank you.
is yeah.
That should be fine. Okay. I've already sent the file in the chat box. I would like everybody to hop on. So I do have to say that, in certain parts of this particular rotation, I was so mad. I was fuming because you guys made a lot of like basic mistakes that seemingly we managed to sort out in the previous class. But then, it dawned on me that apparently this is the first class after, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of not speaking English. So, all right, so that calmed me down. But I'm still gonna tell you the truth, okay? Now, everybody, you can hop on this file to see, what I have to offer. Um, hold on. Have I shared this file? All right. I mean, you all need this to see all the notes. All right. Sorry. Okay. Well, how should I say this? I mean, I wasn't happy with your answers, but okay. Now for Oing, I thought that your idea extensions were fine, but you kind of lost focus a couple of times in speaking part one. For instance, when I asked you about drawing, okay, so you made this mistake of I enjoy drawings. The activity is drawing without the S. The drawings with the S would be pictures, right? So I personally think that you should have said enjoy drawing, as in the activity, not a picture. Now, pass the exams with flying colors. This really just, jumped up completely out of nowhere. I mean, you didn't say anything about exams, and then suddenly it cropped up. So I didn't really like the use of this idiom, although I can't say that, it was wrong in that context. It just didn't feel natural to me. Like there was no context regarding, like tests in drawing lessons. So the moment you brought it up, I just felt like it was a bit out of the ordinary, right? And then there was that one part towards the end when you started rambling about, doing other activities instead of drawing. You said that you preferred sing not you. Oh, sorry, that's a note for Zhang. But towards the end of your last sentence, I felt like you spiral out of control. I didn't feel like you stuck to the question. Right, so these are the notes for you. Now for Zhang here, Zhang, I imagine that you haven't used English for 3 weeks. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, well then let me just be frank with you. Your answers were horrible. I mean, they were what they were. They were horrible, like from the beginning to the end. Um, so well, you need to. I'm not quite sure what advice should I give you because that this is totally expected. I mean, if you're not exactly, band 7 or band 8, if you don't speak English for, 1 or 2 weeks, chances are all of your improvements will be undone. Okay. So Zhang, I'm just going to give you some of the notes here, but the overall comment is that essentially whatever improvements you were able to attain in the previous lesson, they were undone completely. They were wiped off, yeah, after 3 weeks. Because look, you said spent studying. Do you know how to pronounce these words accurately?
Yes.
How do you
Spend.
spend? And then
Spend. Studying.
we sorted that out in the very first lesson, right?
Yes.
As you can see, you relapsed. So, I mean, I hate to say it, in the very first lesson of this year, but Zhang, this is totally expected. I mean, for someone of your caliber right now, you haven't really got that reflex yet. So, if you don't practice regularly, this is the kind of result you're gonna get. Okay, so. I mean, I understand why you delivered your answers of this particular quality, but I hope that you're not going to be happy with it. I mean, I can sympathize with you, but as you can see, we have already dealt with, mistakes like these. So do something about your, practice schedule because as you can tell from these notes, you're back to square one, which is annoying in my opinion. All right. Okay. Let's continue. Duke, inherited this. Okay, well then, I think the word here is wrong. I inherit this. I didn't inherit this. One more time.
I didn't inherit this.
Inherit this.
Inherited.
Okay, if you decide to separate these two words, it can be a bit confusing in terms of pronunciation. right? So it's better for you to connect the T at the end of the word inherit and then this. I didn't, and I couldn't inherit this trait, or I didn't inherit this trait, or maybe it skipped me, right? It skipped
I
over
couldn't
me.
inherit this.
Or you can say it's sort of just skipped over me. All right. And toward the end of your last answer, I felt like you were just translating at the back of your mind. Hmm. It can't be helped. I mean, again, if you're not exactly on band seven, like on a really like steady seven, chances are if you go a few days without speaking English, your fluency and your accuracy would just be thrown out the window. So yeah, I mean, for Đức and Giang, I think that even though you two are two different types of speakers, these notes should remind you that you can't really afford to rest on your laurels just yet. Uh, you need to practice more regularly, especially if you plan on taking the test, anytime soon, then you definitely need to step up the rhythm because we have dealt with these mistakes and both of you are relapsing. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, I thought that your description was very lovely. I do have to say that the first 30 seconds just, flew by. But then, like after the first minute, well, time kind of stretched itself out because I was waiting for you to wrap up your description. But when I looked at the clock, it was still only 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm not quite sure what happened, but the first 30 minutes were super nice, super flowy. But then, after the first minute, it was a stretch. Anyway, but still, the speech was lovely. I understood everything you said, except for these two words here. Grammar rules. One more time. Grammar rules.
Grammar rules.
I wonder why you have the rules like that. Grammar rules. Rules. You need to focus more on the ooh. It's like zoo. Grammar rules.
Grammar rules.
No, I dislike the
Mm.
rules. Rules. Stretch it out.
Rules. Grammar rules.
No.
Grammar rules.
I didn't ask you to change the word grammar. Just grammar. Grammar
Grammar.
rules.
Grammar rules.
No. We did do it again. You need to say until I like it.
Grammar rules.
Not the
And
rules I want.
is because of the ending sound S.
No, 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 no,
Rule.
no, 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 no. I have mentioned this already. I dislike the ooh that you pronounced.
Rules.
Rules.
Rules. Grammar rules.
No, too short.
Grammar rules.
Grammar rules.
Grammar rules.
One more time.
Grammar rules.
One more time.
Grammar rules.
Okay. Our idea logically. So, I thought that you were saying our idea logically. Ideas logically.
Yeah, maybe our ideas logically.
Still don't like it. One more time.
Our ideas logically.
Much better. Okay. So I think one possible issue that you need to keep an eye out for is that sometimes you might end up pronouncing certain words a bit too fast that, the words are distorted, right? Okay. Let's continue. Um, for V, I think that, after the previous support session, you have improved a little bit, but it's still not sustainable. But then, it's kind of hard to, overcome your inertia. Like old habits die hard. So, all right, keep just keep going and keep doing what you're doing, and Try to change your intonation more. There were three mistakes here. Each group, not can, chose. It should have been.
Each group could choose.
Each group could choose. I dislike the way that you pronounce these words. It felt like you were saying one word at a time.
Each group could choose.
Each group could choose.
Each group could choose.
Okay. Catchy slogan. I mean, all right, sure, you clearly said catchy, but then the pronunciation was a bit unclear. One more time.
Catchy slogan.
It's always easy to just read these two words. Can you put that in a sentence?
And then we try to come up with some catchy slogans.
Okay, good. I like the way that you kinda elongated the slogan. Nice. Cherry on top. Wow.
I know.
The cherry on top for me.
The cherry on top for me.
Okay, fine. Oh my God. All right, let's continue. For part three, I mean, I understood everything you said, but I still majorly dislike the way that you pronounce some of the words here. In this particular part, for instance, it sometimes helps with, oh, I hate that rhythm. Again, people, I mean, say what you want to say, but I'm going to tell you the way it is, right? I don't care about the fact that you can speak English because at this point it's taken for granted. You're all capable of speaking English unless you take, an overextended vacation and then you completely forget about, how you can navigate English sentences. It's going to take you a bit of time to sort of just like find your rhythm. But for this level, I think that you all need to step up your game a little bit. I mean, Zui, for these answers, you sounded like you did 3 years ago. Not quite sure why, to be honest. I understood everything you said, but I majorly disliked your pronunciation. It felt like you were saying one word at a time. But then there was that part when you said interference. I like the way that you pronounced that word. You stretch it out, and it sounded so natural. But for all the other words, I actually felt like you were translating at the back of your mind. Some more. Oh. Omnipresence. Okay, so you sort of pushed your luck with that word, but in my opinion, it backfired because you sort of explained that word incorrectly. Omnipresence, it means that it's everywhere. Okay. How about if you can use it all the time? I guess you can mention that point as well, but before saying that, you can say, well, its omnipresence means that people all around the world can, learn new languages. And by omnipresence, I mean, like you can just download apps, from the internet. So as long as you have a smartphone, you can access them. That's the meaning of the word omnipresence. Although I thought that you sort of just, went overboard with this word here. Okay. Yeah, but again, I didn't like the way that you navigated your ideas. I'm not being super fluent right now, so I'm not in the best position to criticize anybody about your rhythm and fluency and things like that. But again, you can do better. You did do better, but then not anymore. Now, for Huyen, I like the fact that, you were very honest with my hard question. I asked you a really tough one, the drawbacks of learning another language, and you were able to verbalize your thoughts. That was nice. Yeah. But then when you mentioned the HR thing, you sort of lost fluency there, right? I mean, outside of that part, I don't think that you made any notable mistakes, or maybe you did, but then I sort of just skipped over them because your fluency and intelligibility were still maintained. Okay? Now, for Zhang, do you want to hear something negative from me again?
Yes.
You could do better, in my opinion. Really, English. How do you pronounce that word?
English.
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 Good. If you want to say they have lots of knowledge, how can you say that?
Lots of knowledge.
See, Zhang, you're clearly capable of using these words, but in your answers for this particular question, oh my God, they were horrible. That's all. They were horrible. You need to do better. Okay? There's not much I can say. For Oanh, I think that you were speaking a bit too fast. Hmm. Utilize fine, lie quizzes. Look, Oanh, I have my advice for you right now would be to be more in control of your speaking pace because you were going a bit too fast, even for me. And I felt like because of that speed, your pronunciation became a lot less accurate. I mean, I understood everything you said, but then you said something like quizzes. That like could have been an easy like for you, but then you said like quizzes. Tiny mistakes like that tend to cost you a lot of marks because these are easy words. All right. And then you went with a really high speed, so you didn't really have time to articulate the sounds. Caught students' attention, catch students' attention. Now, teacher, do you know what's wrong with the sentence here?
Teachers.
Yes. Where was the S? And then the core problems is, well, how can you fix it?
The core problem is.
If you want to use the contraction, that's fine. The core problems, the fact that that's also fine, right? But then you need to make up your mind. AIs, I mean, I don't think that examiners are gonna penalize you for saying AIs, but really, intelligences, artificial intelligences,
No.
right? Just AI. All right. Students often struggle with, okay.
Students often struggle with.
That's not my intonation though. That sounded so robotic. Students often struggle with.
Students often struggle with.
No. Students often struggle with.
Students often struggle with.
No. Mm-mm.
Students often struggle with.
Now you're getting too ready, Wang. Apparently, like when I demonstrate a certain way to deliver a certain phrase, I wanted to copy the entire thing. But we did it 3 times, and apparently you focused more on your own intonation, which is fine. But I think that it also shows you that you don't really have this natural tendency to copy other people. And I'm not quite sure if it's going to be a problem, but I mean, I actually expected you to read between the lines and you just copy my intonation instead. Now, one more time. Now, students often struggle with,
Students often struggle with.
not quite there. Struggle with.
Struggle with.
One more time.
Students often struggle with.
No, 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 no. Let's continue. Okay. For Đức here, I dare to say that both Đức and Khả Anh got the short end of the stick. I mean, their questions were hard, but then the questions in the first two subtopics were also challenging in their own ways. So um, yeah, you did what you did. Now for Đức here, people from other countries. One more time, please.
People from other countries.
Okay, and then you repeat the phrase and then say when they recruit people from other countries and when they hire people from other countries, they can bring. Essentially, you repeat that phrase a lot of times, not as in like 10,000 times, but 3 times in a time span of 30 seconds. So that repetition was clearly notable. You could have said, well, doing so, right? Doing so can bring lots of benefits. Okay. Um, Thank you, Đức. Now, for Khả Anh, you had a good rhythm at the beginning, but then you lost control. Yeah, it's more like a stereotypes. How can you change this?
It's like a stereotype.
Without the S, right?
Yes.
Mother country or
Motherland.
home country or homeland, or from their
Yes.
own country, right? Or from the country of origin. Oh, okay, never mind. Look, people, I dare to say that I thought that all of your answers were horrible. Yeah, let's just call a spade a spade. Everybody relapsed. Most of your improvement has been undone by the holiday, but well, it is to be expected. Okay. So I guess if you want to take the test, you need to perhaps keep up with a more rigorous training schedule. Because as you can see, from what Zhang here, from what Zhang and Đức and then Duy did with these horrible answers, a long period of time without speaking English can take a toll on your fluency. Okay. Um, okay, any question thus far? V, any question?
No.
No. Kai, any question?
No.
Okay. Wow, we were not exactly off to a good start, eh? Well, it comes with the territory. Right, let's have a short break. We're gonna resume session at 9:05, right? 10 minutes. Just for you all to, wipe away the tears and gather your thoughts, all right? Pull yourself together. This is what we do. All right, I'll see you after 10 minutes. Okay, people, let's continue. Huyền, are you still there?
Yes,
Have you collected your TRF test report, hold on, form from BC?
I haven't on Monday.
Oh yeah, you need at least 2 days for that. All right, sure. Okay, people, we weren't exactly off to a good start, but I hope that, this is gonna galvanize you into taking action. Like if you don't have to take the test anywhere down the line, this is not gonna be a problem. But you should be able to see that, if you don't practice regularly, chances are a lot of your hard work will be undone, and then you're gonna be like back to square one, which is hella annoying in my opinion. But okay, I want to let you torture yourself, and we're gonna move on to some of the sample answers here. Okay, we're just gonna go through some answers for part one because I think that all of you know how to, deal with questions in this part, and I'm just gonna highlight some of the better phrases that you can use. Okay, Zui, please, did you enjoy drawing as a kid?
Yes, when I was still in primary school, sorry, that's okay. So yes, when I was still in primary school, I had several drawing classes in a week. What was great about them was our teacher, who was very supportive and encouraging. She didn't teach us a lot of techniques, just a few basic things, but we liked her because she let us be as creative as possible. She would give us a theme, and we just took the ball and ran with it. I drew an alien invasion with all kinds of ballistic weapons, and she loved it.
Sure, but I hated the way you pronounced this word. We liked her.
We liked her.
Why
We liked
her like that?
her.
But we
So
liked her.
her, 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 her,
Mm,
her,
it's just a normal her, but we liked her.
her. We liked her.
Okay, the full sentence. But we liked her because she let us, just be as
Mhm.
creative as possible.
But we liked her because she let us be as creative as possible.
As possible.
As possible.
Okay, fine. All right, well then there is this phrase here, just take the ball and run with it. If you take the ball and run with it, it means that you understand the original idea, and then you just take the idea and then you do what you want with it. Okay?
Like put a spin
Essentially
on
it's
something.
huh?
Like put a spin on something.
No, 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 no. I think that these two idioms are both in the theme of creativity, but when you put a spin on something, it means that you base your work on it and then you just modify a few parts. But when you take the ball and run with something, it means that you understand a very vague idea and then you give it a lot more details.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. So I think that in speaking part one, your duty is to make sure that you sound as fluent as possible. You don't really have to use super technical words, and you also don't have to use lots of hard words. But if you use fairly basic items, you definitely need to maintain a high level of accuracy and fluency. Okay. So here, like, yes, when I was in primary school, that's the speed of fluency. If you say, yes, when I was in primary school, that's not a good way to do it. All right. I know that I'm being like nitpicking at the moment. Being nitpicking, like, that's a verb essentially, I know that I'm nitpicking all of you right now, but like there's a particular level of discipline that you need to abide by if you want to get a higher score. Okay? When I was in primary school, I had several drawing classes in a week. You're not supposed to stop anywhere in this phrase. Okay? I had several classes during a week. what was great about them was our teacher. What was great about them was our teacher, who was super supportive and encouraging, right? She didn't teach us a lot of techniques, just a few basic things, but we liked her because she let us be as creative as possible. You cannot stop anywhere here. In this particular chunk, you have to go through it smoothly. So focus more on that. All right. As I've mentioned, I mean, all of you know how to learn one word at a time or two words at a time, or an idiom or a phrasal verb and things like that. But you see, when you practice speaking, oftentimes you tend to mistake the overall ability to speak, which can actually range from very low level to high level, right? With the actual ability to like put together sentences effortlessly. And if you want to be on the higher end of the speaking band score, you're not supposed to stop anywhere here. Like the kind of discipline that examiners want to get. So I want to just call it the way it is, right? You cannot say, well, because she let us be as creative as possible. If you say this if you talk like that, that's automatically no more than 7 under all circumstances. Okay. So if you're aspiring for a higher score, then I do encourage you to try to be more disciplined as you speak. You cannot pause anywhere here. And when you go through your ideas, if you feel like you're gonna stop after every 2 words, you definitely need to fix that. Okay. V, does that ring a bell to you? Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to stir the pot. That's all. I drew an alien invasion with all kinds of ballistic weapons, and she loved it, right? You're not supposed to stop anywhere in a complete idea. And unfortunately, I don't think that there's, a way for me to like deliver that message without, that level of enforcement. If you're aiming for a higher score, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay? So you're supposed to go through it like this sentence like this. She would give us a theme, and we just took the ball and ran with it. Right? I drew an alien invasion with all kinds of ballistic weapons, and she loved it. And these words are not easy. These words are not easy. I drew an alien invasion with all kinds of ballistic weapons, right? Not easy. But then again, if it's your idea, then it's your responsibility to make sure that all the words come out in a sensible way, right? With a sensible speed, that is. Let's continue then. Here, last one. Huyen, please, do you want to enhance your drawing skills in the future?
It does sound nice, but I'm not quite sure. My drawing skills are sufficient as far as drawing illustrations is concerned. I don't see the point of polishing the skill, but it sounds fun. Perhaps I check some of the tutorial videos on YouTube first.
You did not end it on a good note. One more time.
Perhaps.
Perhaps I'll check some of the tutorials on YouTube first. YouTube first.
Perhaps I check some of the tutorial videos on YouTube first.
Okay. As you can see, in speaking part 1, you definitely need to show a good range of vocabulary items, and I do encourage you to use idioms, but that does not mean that you have to go overboard with these idioms. And I know that it's a weird thing to say because essentially that means I'm saying, well, you should use idioms, but I also don't think that your, idioms are used in a natural way, right? Well, then, Mr. Kwon, what do you want us to do? Um, that's a problem with like learning a language. You're not supposed to have like a formula hammered out for you right away. So even though I did teach Oing that idiom in the past exams with flying colors, and for the longest time, I've always told you guys that you need to use a few more idioms in your sentences, or you need to use ideas that are expressed in idioms more frequently. But the thing is, just because I encourage you to do all of these things, it does not mean that I'm not going to tell you that, well, this particular idiom is not used naturally, so perhaps you can use it in a different context or just use a different phrase, right? These two things are not mutually exclusive. Just because I tell you that you need to use familiar ideas more often, it does not mean that just because you're using an idea that is familiar to you, that idea is going to sound natural, not naturally, sorry. My grammar is all over the place today, but you get the point, okay? So yeah, for this level, there is no formula, so to speak. I mean, I could give you tips and tricks, but just because you're learning my words, it doesn't mean that you're going to use them naturally. And the only way to tell is, well, practicing and getting feedback, right? Okay. Now let's move on then for the second part here. Right. Let's have a look. Bum bum bum. Describe an English lesson you had and enjoyed. Okay, let's have a read first. Khả Anh, please, I'd like you to cover. Oh, sorry. No, Giang up to until this point, and then Khả Anh the rest. Now, Giang, please, I'm gonna tell you about an English lesson I really liked.
I'm going to tell you about an English lesson I really like.
Stop. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm
Really?
going to tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Mm.
I'm going to tell you about an English lesson I really liked. So this happened a while ago when I was still working for my previous company. At the time, I was the head of the science department, which means I was wearing many hats. And there was this new teacher who was pretty shy, and she was supposed to do a demo lesson. It was a physics lesson about something like thermal processes or things like that, but it had to be delivered in English.
Hmm. Zhang, I'm not happy with the way that you delivered this part. Pronunciation was everywhere. Everywhere. As in, well, that's an idiom to say that it was horrible. As in, it was so scattered, and essentially you made the same mistakes that you did eons ago. Oh, okay, I'm gonna give you one demo. Oh, all right, it's good. Demo lesson, not demo. Demo lesson.
Demo lesson.
Physics, not physics. Physics lesson.
Physics lesson.
No, that's not the intonation that I used. It was a physics lesson.
It was a physics lesson.
No, it was a physics lesson.
It was a physics lesson.
No, it was a physics lesson.
It was a physics lesson.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
That was not the rhythm that I used. About something like thermal processes or things like that.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
No, one more time. About something like thermal processes or things like that.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
Thing.
Things.
Two more times.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
Thing again.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
Things like that. No, things like that or things like that.
Things like that.
No. One last shot. About something like thermal processes or things like that.
About something like thermal processes or things like that.
No. Look, Zhang, this is a word of warning for you. We have already covered this part, and I'm not gonna waste your time or mine on, this kind of mistake again, I would urge you to listen to English more often and copy more. I'm not saying that your pronunciation is wrong, but your habits are just, should I say not natural? Because apparently they're natural to you. They just don't sound natural to my ears. And that can be a problem because, again, um, when it comes to pronunciation, you really have to trust me and you have to copy the way that I speak rather than just reading these words the way that you know how to, because that's not going to work, right? So do what you must, Zhang, because honestly, I hate to say it, but you're back to square one. My God, what a wasted opportunity. Do something about it, Zhang. Do something about your schedule. I can still give you some recommendation, but I mean, if I don't call you out on this, then you're gonna spend the next 8 lessons like essentially doing like this, going around in a circle. We made some improvement, and then you just lack a bit of practice, and you go back to just to back to square one, back to zero. Oh, hmm. You need to practice more, Sam, and you also need to copy more when it comes to pronunciation. That is. All right. Okay, let's continue. Kai, please.
So I could tell that she was slightly out of her element because she wasn't that influent in English. So I decided to go out of my way to help her plan the lesson. One of the things that we did together was going through some of the videos illustrating physics processes and rehearsing some of the vocabulary related activities. I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Continue. And the demo lesson happened.
And the demo lesson happened. She didn't exactly hit the ground running. The introduction was messy, but she found her groove. After explaining some of the basic concepts like conduction and convection in English, she organized 2 experiments, which were lots of fun. I loved the fact that the phemonia, phem- phemonina
Phenomena.
phenomena were totally observable, and she guided us through the experiments, telling us where to look and eliciting our responses, which was nice. What stood out for me was the vocabulary revision game, though. We had to match some words with their definitions and
Okay.
hi.
All right, sure. You navigated the second part or the third part according to the structure of this response pretty nicely. But this part, though, can you do that again?
I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
What kind of rhythm was that? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I try not to go overboard and just let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Okay. I try not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Huh? All right, okay, so the last part was fine, but that particular part still doesn't sound right to me. One more time. I tried not to go overboard and let her work out. I wonder why you wanted to focus on the her part.
I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Wait, hold on. All right, sure. I mean, this is one of those situations again. I'm still not hearing any similarities between the way that I deliver that particular part and what you did. I want to ask for some help from a third party here. Wang, please. Was he copying the way that I spoke?
Maybe no.
Right? Kai, do it again. I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Wait, hold on. That still didn't sound like me. Okay, Kai, if you don't know this, then yeah, when I give you a demonstration, you're supposed to copy me. Were you trying
Yes,
to copy me?
yes, I just copied you.
Well, mission failed successfully. One more time. I try not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and let her work out.
I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
One more time, and then we're going to ask for one final verdict here. I
Um,
try not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
I tried not to go overboard and let her work out what was good and what was missing from the equation.
Line, please.
Maybe this burden has improved.
Okay, I agree. The last attempt was good, right? He sounded like me. Okay, good. We're on the same page here. Oh, thank you, Kai. Not quite sure what happened, but all right. Okay. So for this particular answer, as you can tell, well, I was talking about an English lesson, but it was not a regular lesson. It was a lesson about science. Why? Because I only knew how to speak about science. I don't think that I can just describe an English lesson like, like a normal one, because well, I don't remember what people are supposed to do in English lessons. And even though I'm teaching IELTS, it's not, exactly, something that I'm familiar with. So essentially, I just resorted to a more viable tactic, right? So I decided to, switch gears and talk about science instead. So here, right, this is quite a typical idea. Typical idea about my work. Obviously, this is not like identical to some of these scripts that I've shown you, but then again, I talk about my work all the time, and I know how to put my spin, put a spin on. Oh my God, what's wrong with my English today? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I know how to put a spin on my own script, so I have different versions, talking about the same thing. Okay. Now, I could tell that she was slightly out of her element. I think that element was the S, out of her element, because she wasn't that fluent in English. Neither am I. So I decided to go out of my way, to help her plan the lesson. One of the things that we did together was going through some videos illustrating physics processes and rehearsing some of the vocabulary related activities. I try not to go overboard and let her work out. It's a very nice phrasal verb. What was good and what was missing from the equation. Again, for me, this is also a very typical script. Typical script about doing something unfamiliar or something that you're trying to, or when you're trying to learn something for the very first time. Okay, out of your element, so on and so forth. Up here, we have wearing many hats, right? Demo lesson, but had to be delivered in English. Okay, you get the point. And then she didn't exactly hit the ground running. At this point, you should know that I use this idiom very regularly, right? But she found her groove, right? After explaining, okay, so from here to here, right? Typical idea about struggling with a task. I use words like this all the time. And then for this particular part, now this was where I kind of improvised a little bit because, well, um, I don't think that I had a colleague like this, but well, I did have some experience, teaching conduction and convection in English. So this was a made-up story with some elements I'm familiar with, as in science, scientific concepts, and some education activities, right? So essentially what I'm trying to say here is that when it comes to part two, I always try to walk that fine line between like using prepared ideas and freestyling. The best thing about freestyling is that you're gonna sound supernatural, and supernatural. Isn't that isn't that a not a good word? Oh, sorry. What I'm trying to say is that you're gonna sound very natural when just speak off the top of your head, and you're gonna feel like your ideas are more organic. But the problem with that approach is that if you're not familiar with what you're saying and you're not exactly a top tier or like a native English speaker, chances are you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Okay? So I do encourage you to learn to harness the ideas that you're already familiar with on a more regular basis, right? But of course, that does not mean that every time you use these familiar ideas, you're going to sound natural. That's not part of the deal at all. I'm just saying that you need to develop this habit of like polishing your ideas the best way that you can. And for an idea that is familiar to you, perhaps you have an easier time, going through it, but that does not mean that you're always going to sound natural. Depending on the context, you might have to make some adjustments. And for me, that's the hallmark of someone who is actually fluent in English, right? They always have, a few phrases that they often employ when they speak, but that does not mean that they're going to confine themselves to, these phrases. It's just that they have a habit of speaking which involves a number of phrases. Okay? That's all. By the way, this never happened. I just made up a story. And of course, I had to rely on science because that's my domain of expertise. If I were to describe like a random English, I would probably not be as accurate as what this script seems to suggest. Okay? Let's continue down here. All right, we have, oh my God, long answers. But I did answer these questions like this. So let's see what they have to offer. The first one then, Duke, please, what are the benefits of learning another language?
Well, there are several benefits, I suppose. The most important is that you can acquire another language, which improves your language skill and allows you to communicate with people speaking that language. If you are learning a, lang- a language like French or Chinese,
Lingua franca, like English or Chinese?
lingua franca,
Hmm.
learning lingua franca like English or Chinese, that means you can talk to a lot of foreigners in real life and on the internet. And considering the fact that many companies require candidates to speak other languages, being a bilingual or multilingual can also lead to better job opportunities. For instance, in Vietnam, those fluent in Japanese are actually pay a lot of money because there are many Japanese companies here. The benefits of learning languages also extend to gaining cultural insights. For example, when you learn Chinese, you see their symbols are not just random shapes. Each stroke represents something in real life, and when you combine certain letters together, they another meaning, which is fascinating.
Jesus Christ, that was a hard answer. I remember when I navigated this particular question, I was effortless. Oh, okay. Well then, Duke, I don't think that you sounded natural at all, especially when compared to your normal rhythm. I don't know if it's going to be a problem because you're clearly capable of speaking English, but I mean, man, you butchered my answer. But okay, fine. Essentially, for this particular answer, I'm just trying to show you that the first impression is always very important. And as I've mentioned here, let me just scroll up a little bit. Oh my God, today is not a good day for this class, as in not a good day for teacher-student interactions. Can you freshen up my mind, please? When we had our previous lesson, did we end things on a positive note, or was I just as grumpy as I am now? Grumpy and judgmental
No,
and impossible?
no, you were more positive.
Oh, right. I mean, that was the end of the year, right? I just couldn't wait to just let it all go. But all right, sure. But we're back to business. And you did horrible. All right. Anyway. Well, the thing about speaking part three is that there are three batches, three groups of topics. The first one is often the most direct one, and usually examiners are going to ask you questions in this particular group so that you can sort of just gain some momentum before moving on to more sophisticated topics. Okay? Down here we have the dead zone. I'm not quite sure what the second group is for because most examiners tend to just skip over, right? And then we have the last subtopic. Usually this is the more challenging out of the three, but then it depends. I mean, there are certain topics, there are certain general questions that are really hard to answer, especially, if they ask you to essentially share your knowledge about something that you have never done any research into. That can be a challenge, right? Okay, where was I? Oh, okay, let's have a look. So this is the first answer, and I know, right? It looks ridiculously long, but well, I did say it, so I'm just gonna show you what it was. And I guess what you can learn from this sample answer is that you learn to develop your ideas in different ways, right? Several benefits. That's a good start. A general start, but a good one for you to, you know, keep on speaking, okay? Um, the most important is that you can acquire another language, which improves your language skills and allow you to communicate with people speaking that language. So this is a reason, right? If you're learning lingua franca like English or Chinese, that means you can talk to a lot of foreigners in real life and on the internet. Example or benefits. And considering the fact that many companies require candidates to speak other languages, being a bilingual or multilingual can lead to better job opportunities. Another benefit. So we have reason, benefit, and example, right? Reason, benefit, and then benefit, and then example. Example. Hmm. Okay. And we move on to the second part of the answer. The benefits of learning languages also extend to gaining cultural insights. I know that these words are not that fancy, but all of them are nice words, right? Because well, they are on topic. For example, when you learn Chinese, you see that their symbols are not just random shapes. Each stroke represents something in real life, and when you combine certain letters together, there's another meaning, which is fascinating. Hmm. Nice, right? Nice. Okay. My God, I'm about to run out of gas. Any question regarding the first answer? I know that it's obnoxiously long, but I did say something like this, and the examiner really just let me, waffle on. Any question? Kang, any question?
No.
Okay, we're gonna continue then. What are the qualities of a good language teacher? Oanh, please.
As far as my eyes can see, an effective language teacher must first possess relevant language skills. English teachers may be fluent in the language and have proper teaching methodologies to help their students acquire new vocabulary and apply it. There are also things like classroom management, which is crucial to keep members of the class focused. In addition, I think to teach anything effectively, you need to be able to inspire others. So when it comes to teaching languages, a teacher should know how to motivate their students to work harder. This can be done by giving them specific feedback to help them see their strengths and weaknesses.
That wasn't exactly a good end. You were just going a bit too fast. Stopping there like that would not sound natural. It would sound like you were trying to go through a script. Too fast. Too fast. I'd like you to do this part again.
Um, in addition, I think to teach anything effectively, you need to be able to inspire others.
Hold on, hold
So
on. I really dislike the way you pronounce some of these words. They were too short. Too They were pronounced a bit too fast, and some of the words were a bit too short. You need to stretch them out more. What's the point of rushing through the words? Right? The examiner's going to stay there and listen to you. Your job is to make sure that the pronunciation is on point. And that means you only go through not important words a bit faster, but you still need to elongate, stretch some of the words out. You did not stretch a single word. One more time.
In addition, I think to teach anything effectively, you need to be able to inspire others. So when it comes to teaching languages, a teacher should know how to motivate their students to work harder. This can be done by giving them specific feedback to have them see their strengths and their weaknesses.
And weaknesses.
And weaknesses.
One more time, the last sentence. This can be done. You don't always have to go super fast. This can be done. There's that that is missing from the way that you read the script here. It sounded super robotic, and it also put you in a predicament. If you go that fast, there's no stopping it. And the moment you stop, you're gonna sound like okay, why are you stopping completely out of the blue? Normally, when you speak, well, not just English, but any languages, when you're close to an end, you're supposed to stretch the sounds out a bit more to signal to the person that's listening to you that, all right, you're running out of things to say, right? And if you keep on, pushing forward with that momentum and that speed, stopping is a death sentence. One more time. This can be done by giving them like specific feedback to help them see their strengths and weaknesses. Weaknesses, you have to go down like that.
This can be done by giving them specific feedback to have them see their strengths and weaknesses.
Not quite there. Weaknesses.
Weaknesses.
One more time.
This can be done by giving them specific feedback to have them see their strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, fine. Okay. Well, this is quite a standard answer. There are points, and then there are explanations. Right? First, possess relevant language skills. They must be fluent in the language, have proper teaching methodologies to help their students acquire new vocabulary and apply it. There are also things like classroom management, which is crucial to keep members of the class focused. All right. Okay. In addition, I think to teach anything effectively, you need to be able to inspire. Oh, by the way, I wouldn't go through the word inspire others like that. You said you need to be able to inspire others. That's a bit too fast for the word inspire. There's always the at the end. So the better way to do it is you need to be able to inspire others.
You need to be able to inspire others.
That's so much better. So I would like you to add two things and take away one thing from, well, the way that you speak. First of all, I'd like you to add a few more and not as in your fillers, but like you need to be able to inspire others. So when it comes to teaching languages, a teacher should know how to motivate. You stretch some of the words out a bit more. That's the first thing. I would like you to also add one more thing, which is the full pronunciation of certain words, like inspire. You say inspire. The is a bit short, and you tend to do that a lot, which is why you always sound like you're in a rush, right? That's not a good thing. And there's one thing that I like to take away from the way that you speak, which is your speed. You might want to dial it down a little bit because, I mean, sure, you sound like you're saying a lot, but if the examiner can't really work out the kind of rhythm that you're using in a sustainable way, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? They would like you to deliver your answer in a more consistent speed. It does not mean that you have to go through one word at a time, but there must be a rhythm. And if you speak a bit too fast, you're signing a death sentence for that test. I mean, trust me, I've been on that end more than a few times. Okay. So do these three things. Three things. Okay? Ugh.
Mm.
Okay. Let's continue. What kinds of companies tend to hire people from other countries? VE, please. Well,
Well, I think this often happens to companies that sell products or services to multiple markets. For instance, Vingroup is trying to extend its reach to European markets, so it's hiring more workers from European countries for various positions.
that sounded super really.
Oh,
V, you fumble your ball. Or
my God.
countries for various positions that was supposed to go up at the end.
I thought it was the end, so we should go down.
No. One more time.
Well, I think this often happens to companies that
No,
sell
no, no,
food.
no, no. Just this part. And also, why would you assume that this is the end of an answer? This is part three. But speaking and you have been how long? You have been with me for how long now?
Yeah, 6 lessons.
6 lessons, and you assume that this is the stretch of my fluency? Really, girl?
No.
The ball's on you. That's a nasty phrase. I'm sorry for that. But no, this is not the end of my fluency. This is the end of my fluency here. Right? So when you see something like this, you have to assume that I'm gonna get interrupted.
Ah,
Okay? One more time. Now, what kinds of companies tend to hire just this part here? So, it's hiring more workers from European countries for various positions.
So it's hiring more workers from European countries for various positions.
So, what are the benefits of doing this? Continue. V, continue. People, can you hear me? Am I getting
Um,
disconnected? V, can you hear me? Continue. So,
yeah.
I suppose the main advantage.
So I suppose the main advantage of hiring workers from other country is that the companies can employ people with a set of skill that people in their motherland mm,
What
does
are you
not.
talking about, V? I'm showing you the script here.
Oh, sorry. Ah, I, sorry. I thought,
Continue.
yeah, I suppose the main advantage is that businesses can recruit employees with certain expertises. In the case of Vingroup, I think hiring European workers is mostly because of their technological knowledge. Like there are many engineers who have been hired to work on electric cars and AI, and Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
Okay. You made a deliberate effort to go down like that. I I just felt it was too little or too late. Now, and Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification, you still have that issue. But then again, I'm not saying that you can fix it overnight, but then that's something you need to be aware of. Okay. You need to stretch the words out a bit more, just a bit more. And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between, are few and far between. That's when you're telling the examiner that, okay, look, I'm running out of things to say. If you deliver all of these chunks with the same speed, with a bit of intonation, that's not going to change anything. One more time.
And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
No. One more time.
And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
No.
And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
You should have stopped here. My God. And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
No, it didn't work. One more time.
And Vietnamese graduates with the same qualification are few and far between.
Right, so you paused at the right part, but then you didn't stretch that word out. That's fine. That's fine. All I can say to you is that you have not improved. You have not improved. When it comes to reading script, that is. Okay. Anyway, so essentially I got interrupted and then I got a different response. Let's continue with the last one. Haven't I called everybody? Has anyone not? Is there anyone that has not been called? Oh, well then, Zui, the last part then. What problems may this lead to?
Well, I reckon that creating an international environment is no small task. There are cultural conflicts which can undermine the productivity of a team. Asian people, for
Stop.
instance.
Okay, all right, I have managed to put my finger on one of your main issues. You tend to, first of all, you tend to go very low and you tend to pronounce all the words with their short sounds. So let me give you an example. This is how I would say this. There are cultural conflicts which can undermine the productivity of a team. You sound more like which can undermine the productivity of a team. Like all of the words sounded the same, and all of the syllables were pronounced with very short sounds. I'm not quite sure how to say it, but it sounds a bit too short to my ears. So one more time. Now, there are cultural conflicts,
There are cultural conflicts
which can undermine the productivity of a team.
which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Too short. You did not elongate any of the ending sounds. Again, people, not just you, Z, but everyone else here. Perhaps except for D, but for the rest of you, you definitely need to get to stretch some of the at the end, like which can undermine. I'm not quite sure if the sound is captured perfectly, but I'm trying to make a point here. You need to say which can undermine the productivity of a
and
team.
undermine, okay, which can undermine the productivity of a team.
You did not get it.
Uh-huh.
Stretch the n out, which can
undermine the productivity of
too
the team.
short. Too short. Sorry.
Can.
Sorry. I need to calm down. I need to calm down. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is looking at me like, Quan, what are you doing? Why are you screaming at the screen? No, no, no. We're cool. We're cool. Which can
can
undermine
undermine
the productivity.
the productivity.
Nope. The productivity.
The
T.
productivity.
Not T. It's T.
T. Okay.
Which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Okay. Which can undermine the productivity of a team.
I need a third party here. Huyền, was Zui actually doing what I was doing?
Yes, it sounds a bit weird. I don't think the word can should be prolonged here, which can undermine. The word undermined and team should be prolonged, but when the student tried to prolong the word can, it sounds weird.
Okay, fine. Let's move on with the second attempt, Zui, which can undermine. I agree. Which can undermine the productivity.
Which can undermine the productivity of a team.
No, just listen to me first.
Mm-hmm.
Which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Huyền, this time around, he did not elongate any sound, right?
What? I deliberately.
Huyền, did he elongate anything?
Can undermine.
He did. I think he did, but it sounds a bit weird.
Which means he didn't. What's the point of beating around the bush? Look, I couldn't hear anything, Zui. I heard all the words, but there was no elongation. You said undermine the productivity of a team. All of these words were pronounced too clearly and separately. There was no elongation, which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Mm-hmm. So there are cultural conflicts which can undermine the productivity of a team.
That productivity did not get extended at all.
Mm-hmm.
What? Mm-hmm.
The
Do it again.
productivity.
It's productivity. T. You need to breathe the word out.
Productivity.
Yes.
So there are cultural conflicts which can undermine the productivity of a team.
Oh. Can
All
someone
right,
call the
maybe.
police, please?
All right.
Now, Huyền, did you hear that? He did not say, am I just splitting hairs here? He did not stretch the word productivity. He said productivity. It should have been productivity of a team. Huyền, I would like to hear your opinion on this. Did he stretch the word T out, or did he say T and then of a team?
You have to do it again.
Okay, fine. Which can undermine the productivity of a team. Zui.
Okay, so which can undermine the productivity of a team?
He said productivity.
Did
I
he
think
stretch
he did stretch it out. He did stretch it out.
What? I beg to differ. I'm overriding you this time around here. Zui, I'm so unsatisfied with the way that you stretch the words. You stressed it by saying productivity. But that was not a T that I want. I want a T. T. productivity of a
of a
team.
team.
Not, that was horrible. You did not stretch any of the words out. I'm going to stand my ground this time around until I see the recording of this lesson. Anyway, people, look, what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to part 3, let's have a look at the sample answers and the vocabulary and whatnot. Let me highlight some of the words here. Undermine the productivity of a team. Asian people, for instance, are more receptive towards criticisms from their leaders, or at least they're forced to be so. Europeans and Americans, on the other hand, are not as obedient, as in that they're not willing to be obedient is to behave properly, and they're just how can I say this? Obedient. If someone is obedient, that person is less likely to fight back, tend to speak their minds, and troubleshoot problems and solve them. But it might be perceived as a sign of disrespect, which of course can it's better, which of course can fuel further dissonance within the team. Fuel further dissonance within the team. Okay. So when it comes to speaking part 3, what I always encourage you to do is to, state an opinion. It doesn't have to be a yes or a no. It doesn't have to be dichotomous like that. You just need to say something related to the question. What are the problems? There are many problems, right? And then as you go through one idea at a time, you can supplement your position with main points, examples, so on and so forth. Okay. And when it comes to vocabulary, for part 3, you should focus more on like general vocabulary when you give reasons. But for examples, I would encourage you to try to be more specific. Okay. Like here for Vin Group, it's trying to extend its reach to European markets, European consumers. You need specific words like that when you're talking about examples. Okay. Oh my God. These are all exemplary answers of like 8.5 and 9. If you can deliver all of these words in a natural way, you're clearly a 9. It's just that I don't think that you guys are quite in there yet. Okay, that should be it for today then. Any question? No? If there's no question, then that's it for this week. Okay? Bye-bye.